Fleet Admiral stood before the massive viewing screen on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. His four arms crossed behind his back as he watched the small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Earth looked so peaceful from here, so helpless. "Such a small world," he said to his officers. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "Hard to believe such weak creatures live there." Communications officer Ara looked up from her station. Her large black eyes reflected the light from her control panel. "Admiral, our spy drones have been watching them for 3 full cycles now. The humans are still fighting each other. Small wars all over their planet. They cannot even unite against themselves." Science officer Al moved closer to the Admiral. His thin body swayed as he walked, like a reed in wind. "Sir, their technology is very basic. They use crude rockets that burn chemical fuel. Their weapons are simple nuclear bombs, nothing more advanced than what we had 500 years ago." Admiral nodded slowly. In his long career, he had conquered 847 worlds for the Empire. Some planets had fought back with plasma cannons and energy shields. Others had tried to hide behind force fields or space mines. All had failed. All had fallen to the might of the Empire. But Earth would be different. Earth would be easy. "They do not even have faster-than-light travel," laughed Captain N from the weapons console. "Their fastest ships barely reach their own moon. It takes them days to get there." The other officers joined in the laughter. The sound echoed through the command center like the chattering of insects. Admiral raised one hand for silence. "Yes, they are weak, but weak does not mean worthless. This planet has good water, rich soil, useful metals. The Empire needs these resources." He turned to face his crew. 50 officers stood at attention around the bridge. Each one was a veteran of many conquests. Each one had helped destroy civilizations that thought they could resist the Empire. "We will follow standard procedure," the Admiral announced. "First, we show them our power. We destroy something they value but do not need. Their moon will serve nicely." Ara typed commands into her console. "Sir, should we send the usual surrender message first? Tell them to give up or face destruction?" "No," said, "these humans are too stupid to understand words. They need to see action. When their moon breaks apart, they will know we are serious." Captain N smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Admiral, 1 plasma blast should be enough. Their moon has no shields, no defenses. It will crack like an egg." "Do it," ordered the Admiral. The Eternal Dominion was the largest ship in the fleet. It was 3 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to destroy a small star. Its main plasma cannon could punch through the armor of any known warship. Captain N worked at his controls. "Plasma cannon charging. Target locked on Earth's moon. Ready to fire on your command, sir." Admiral looked at the moon through the viewing screen. In a few moments, it would be debris. The humans would see the explosion from their planet. They would understand that resistance was useless. "Fire," he commanded. A beam of pure energy shot from the Eternal Dominion. It crossed the space between the ship and the moon in seconds. The blast hit the moon's surface with the power of 1,000 nuclear bombs. Rock and dust exploded into space. A crater appeared on the moon's surface, glowing with heat. The explosion was bright enough to see from Earth even during the day. "Perfect shot," reported Captain N. "The crater is 50 kilometers wide. The humans definitely saw that." Admiral nodded with satisfaction. Now they would wait for the surrender messages. Usually, planets gave up within hours of seeing such a demonstration. The smart ones surrendered in minutes. "Sir," said Ara, "we are receiving no communications from Earth. Their radio bands are silent." The Admiral frowned. "Perhaps they are too frightened to speak. Give them more time." Minutes passed, still no word from Earth. "This is strange," muttered Al. "Most species start begging for mercy immediately. They send dozens of messages offering to negotiate." "Humans are different," said the Admiral. "They are probably arguing among themselves about who should surrender first. Their governments cannot agree on anything." More time passed, still silence. Then Ara's console began beeping rapidly. "Admiral, I am picking up new energy readings. Something is happening near Earth." Al rushed to his own station. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he tried to understand the readings. "Sir, there are massive power signatures appearing all around Earth's orbit, but our scans showed nothing there before." "Explain," demanded. "I cannot, sir. According to our sensors, there were only small pieces of space debris in Earth orbit, old satellites, broken rocket parts, nothing important." The beeping from Ara's station grew faster and louder. "Admiral," she said, her voice shaking slightly, "whatever those objects are, they are powering up. Energy levels are rising rapidly." Admiral stared at the viewing screen. Earth looked the same as before. The small blue planet continued its slow spin, but now something felt wrong. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen changed to display a tactical view of Earth's solar system. Hundreds of red dots appeared around Earth. Each dot represented an object with massive energy readings. "What are those?" whispered Captain N. Before anyone could answer, more red dots appeared. They showed up near Mars, around Jupiter's moons, in the asteroid belt, even near the edge of the solar system. "Impossible," said Al. "Our deep space scans found nothing in those locations. We would have detected any large ships or stations." Admiral felt something cold settle in his stomach. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. Ships did not simply appear from nowhere. "How many objects?" he asked quietly. Ara checked her readings twice before answering. "Over 3,000, sir, and the number is still growing." The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the tactical display in shock. Then a new sound filled the air, a steady tone that meant incoming transmission. But this signal was different. It was stronger than anything they had ever received. It overpowered their own communication systems. "Sir," said Ara, "we are receiving a message from Earth." Admiral straightened his shoulders. Finally, the surrender he had been waiting for. "Put it on screen," he commanded. But the voice that came through the speakers was not begging for mercy. It was calm, clear, and absolutely certain. "Attention, fleet. You have attacked our moon. You have 10 minutes to leave our space. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Admiral stared at the screen. Around him, his officers waited for orders. For the first time in his career, the Admiral did not know what to say. Admiral felt his 4 hearts beating faster than normal. In 300 years of military service, no one had ever given him a deadline. Species either surrendered immediately or fought until they died. They never made demands. 10 minutes, Captain N laughed, but the sound was hollow. "Sir, should we destroy more of their moon, show them we are serious." "Wait," said Science Officer Al. His voice was tight with worry. "Admiral, I am reading the energy signatures more carefully now. These are not simple weapons platforms." "Turn to face him. Explain." Al's hands shook as he worked his controls. "Sir, each of these objects is producing more energy than our entire battleship. The power readings are beyond our classification system." Communications Officer Ara looked up from her station. Her black eyes were wide with fear. "Admiral, the objects are broadcasting identification codes now. They are calling themselves defense platforms." "Defense platforms." The Admiral moved closer to her station. "Show me the data." The main screen displayed information about the nearest object. What they had thought was broken space debris was actually a massive weapons platform. It was larger than a city and armed with technology they had never seen before. "This is impossible," whispered Captain N. "Our scouts studied this system for 3 cycles. We found nothing like this." Al's voice cracked as he spoke. Admiral, according to these readings, some of these platforms have been here for decades. How did we miss them? Stared at the display in growing horror. The humans had not built these defenses after seeing the fleet arrive. They had been waiting, for years, maybe longer. "Sir," said Aura, "I am detecting movement throughout the solar system. More objects are powering up." The tactical display updated again. Red dots appeared near every planet and moon. They showed up in places where no ship should be able to hide. Behind asteroids, inside gas giant atmospheres, even in the corona of the sun itself. "How many?" asked the Admiral quietly. "Over 10,000 platforms now, sir. And there are ships too, lots of ships." As if summoned by her words, new contacts appeared on the screen. These were not platforms. They were moving vessels, emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. But they did not look like any ships they had ever seen. "Admiral," said Al, his voice barely a whisper, "these ships are using technology we do not understand. They are not burning fuel or using reaction drives. They are not even following normal physics." Watched in amazement as human vessels moved in ways that should have been impossible. They accelerated instantly to incredible speeds. They changed direction without slowing down. Some appeared to be moving backwards through time. "Sir, incoming transmission from the lead human vessel," announced Aura. "Put it through." The voice was the same as before, calm and certain. "Fleet, this is Captain Sarah of the Earth Defense Force. You now have 8 minutes to leave our space. We suggest you use this time wisely." Admiral found his voice. "This is Fleet Admiral of the Empire. You will surrender immediately or face the full might of our fleet." There was a pause. Then the human voice came back, and now it sounded almost amused. "Admiral, we have been monitoring your communications since you entered our system. We know you have conquered 847 worlds. We know your standard tactics. We know everything about your empire." The words hit like physical blows. "Impossible. Our communications are encrypted with quantum locks." To you, perhaps. To us, your encryption is like a child's puzzle. We have been inside your computer network since the day you arrived. Captain stepped forward angrily. "Human, you speak as if you have already won. We have 300 warships, the finest fleet in the galaxy." 312 ships, actually, came the reply. "The Eternal Dominion, 47 heavy cruisers, 93 destroyers, and 131 support vessels. Your flagship has a crew of 2,847. Your weakest point is the plasma conduit on deck 17. The bridge fell completely silent. Even the hum of the ship's engine seemed to quiet down. "You have been watching us," said Admiral. It was not a question. "Admiral, we have been watching your entire empire for 57 years. Since the day your first scout probe entered what you call the Outer Rim." Al made a choking sound. 57 years, but we only discovered Earth 3 years ago. "No," said the human voice. "You discovered what we wanted you to discover. We have been guiding your scouts to find exactly what we chose to show you. A primitive world, divided governments, basic technology." Aura's console erupted with new signals. "Admiral, we are receiving transmissions from across the galaxy, from our home world, from all our colony systems." The Admiral's blood turned to ice. "What kind of transmissions?" "Battle reports, sir. Our fleets are under attack everywhere. Human ships have appeared at every world in our empire." The main screen changed to show a map of space. Red warning signals flashed at every star system, every world, every space station. "Simultaneous attacks," breathed Captain N. "But how? How did they get ships to all those places without us detecting them?" The human voice answered as if she had heard him. "We have been there all along, Captain, watching, learning, preparing." Admiral looked at the tactical display again. The human ships were not just scattered randomly through space. They were positioned perfectly to cut off every escape route. Every possible maneuver the fleet might attempt had already been blocked. "This is not possible," he said. "No species could hide such a massive military buildup. Our intelligence networks cover the entire galaxy." "Your intelligence networks," said Captain, "have been feeding you exactly the information we wanted you to have. For 57 years. Al was studying his instruments frantically. "Admiral, these human ships are not using any technology in our databases. Their weapons, their shields, their engines, none of it matches anything we know." "Because we developed it specifically to fight you," came the reply. "We studied every weapon you use, every defense you rely on, every tactic in your military manuals. Then we built technology designed to make all of it useless." Captain N's face had gone pale. "Sir, if they have been planning this for 50 years. "Then they know everything," finished Admiral. "Our fleet positions, our supply lines, our weaknesses." "You have 6 minutes left," said Captain. "I suggest you consider your options carefully." Admiral looked around his bridge. His officers stared back at him with expressions of fear and confusion. They had come here expecting an easy victory against a primitive species. Instead, they had walked into a trap that had been 57 years in the making. "Human," said the Admiral slowly, "what do you want?" "Justice," came the simple reply. "For 847 worlds, for all the species your empire has enslaved, for all the civilizations you have destroyed." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Admiral realized that his empire had made the greatest mistake in galactic history. They had attacked Earth. Admiral stared at the countdown timer on his console. 4 minutes remaining. Around him, his officers waited for orders, their faces tight with fear. "Admiral," said Captain N quietly, "perhaps we should consider retreat. This situation is beyond anything we have encountered." His pride flared up like a fire. In 300 years, no admiral had ever retreated from a primitive species. The Empire did not run from threats. The Empire destroyed them. "No," he said firmly. "We are the Empire. We do not flee from humans who hide behind tricks and lies. All fleets prepare for full assault." Science Officer Al's voice shook as he spoke. "Sir, their technology appears far advanced. Maybe we should study it first, understand what we face." "There is nothing to understand," snapped the Admiral. "They have better computers and some kind of stealth technology, but they still have to obey the laws of physics, and physics says that 300 warships can destroy anything." He turned to Captain N. "Signal the fleet. All ships target the nearest human vessels. Full power to all weapons. We end this now." Across the formation, 300 warships powered up their weapons. Plasma cannons charged with enough energy to crack planets. Missile tubes loaded with warheads that could destroy moons. Energy beams that could cut through any known armor. "All ships report ready, sir," said Captain N. "Fire everything," ordered Admiral. The space around Earth lit up like a new star being born. Thousands of plasma bolts, energy beams, and missiles streaked toward the human ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a solar system. Every shot missed. "Impossible," breathed Captain N. "I had perfect targeting locks. How did they dodge?" On the main screen, the human ships had not moved. They hung in space exactly where they had been before. But somehow, the weapons had passed right through them without hitting anything. "Sir," said Aura, her voice high with panic, "our targeting computers are showing impossible readings. They say the human ships are there but also not there, like they exist and do not exist at the same time." Al was frantically working his controls. "Admiral, space itself is acting strangely around the human vessels. It is like they are changing the rules of reality in small areas." "That is nonsense," said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Matter cannot exist in two states at once." "Sir, incoming message from Captain Ra on the Swift Talon," reported Aura. The destroyer captain's image appeared on screen. Her usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by barely controlled terror. "Admiral, something is wrong with my ship. My weapons are turning themselves toward our own fleet. I cannot control them." Even as she spoke, the swift Talon fired its main cannon at a nearby cruiser. The blast punched through the cruiser's shields and hull, causing massive explosions. "Captain, shut down your weapon systems immediately," ordered. "I am trying, sir, but my ship is not responding to my commands. It is like something else is controlling it." On the tactical display, more ships began firing at each other. The Admiral watched in horror as his own fleet tore itself apart. "Admiral," said Al, "I am detecting some kind of signal affecting our ship's computer systems, but it is not coming from any human vessel." "Then where?" "Everywhere, sir. The signal seems to be coming from space itself." Captain looked up from his console, sweat dripping down his face. "Sir, we are receiving damage reports from across the fleet. Ships are losing control. Some are reporting that their crews cannot move, like they are paralyzed but still conscious." Admiral felt cold terror creeping up his spine. This was not battle. This was something else entirely. "All ships retreat to jump distance," he commanded. "We will regroup and analyze this technology." "Sir," said Ara, 18 ships report they cannot engage their engines. Their power systems are functioning, but the engines will not respond." On screen, Captain Ra's image flickered with static. "Admiral, my crew is falling unconscious. I can see them at their stations, but they will not wake up. I think something is affecting our minds directly." Her image cut out. "Contact lost with the swift Talon," reported Ara, "and with 43 other vessels." The Admiral stared at the tactical display. Ships throughout his fleet were going dark, not destroyed but simply stopped, like someone had turned off a switch. "Sir, priority transmission from home world," announced Ara. The communication was broken and filled with static, but the words were clear enough to chill everyone on the bridge. "All colonies under attack. Human ships appeared from nowhere. Our defenses are useless. They know everything about us." The transmission cut to silence. "Get me contact with High Command," ordered. "Sir, all long-range communications are being blocked. I cannot reach anyone outside this system." Al looked up from his station, his face pale with shock. "Admiral, I am reading massive gravitational distortions near our home system. Something is blocking our sensors, but the energy readings are enormous." "What kind of energy?" "The kind that could make a star go dark, sir." The words hit the bridge like a physical blow. Everyone knew what that meant. If humans could extinguish stars, then planets were nothing to them. "Sir," whispered Captain N, "what are we fighting?" Before the Admiral could answer, the human voice returned. Still calm, still certain. "Admiral, you now have 2 minutes to leave our space. Your fleet is being disabled, not destroyed. This is still a mercy." "Mercy?" The Admiral found his voice. "You call this mercy? Your crews are unharmed. Your ships can be repaired. But your Empire's ability to wage war is ending. In every system, at every world, your fleets are being neutralized. This is impossible. No species has the power to attack an entire empire simultaneously." "No species that you knew about," replied Captain. "Admiral, 57 years ago, we intercepted your first probe. We realized that eventually you would find Earth, so we began to prepare." On the main screen, images appeared. Massive construction projects in deep space, ships being built in hidden shipyards, weapons being tested in empty star systems. "We did not just prepare to defend Earth," continued the human voice. "We prepared to end your empire forever. Every slave world you control will be free. Every species you have conquered will be liberated." Admiral watched as more ships in his fleet went silent. The Eternal Dominion was now one of only a few dozen vessels still under his command. "You are destroying 1,000 years of civilization," he said. No, came the reply. We are ending 1,000 years of slavery. The tactical display updated again. Every stronghold in the galaxy was under attack. Fortress worlds that had never been threatened were sending distress calls. Space stations that controlled entire sectors were going dark. How? Whispered the Admiral. We learned from every species you destroyed, said Captain. We studied every defense you overcame. We talked to the survivors of every world you conquered. And we built technology specifically designed to make your empire impossible. Admiral looked around his bridge one more time. His proud fleet was broken. His mighty empire was falling, and it had taken the humans less than 10 minutes. 1 minute remaining, said the human voice. The Admiral realized he had only one choice left. Admiral watched the countdown timer reach 0. Around him, the bridge of the Eternal Dominion fell silent except for the quiet hum of life support systems. Time is up, came Captain's voice through the speakers. You chose to stay. We are warriors of the Empire, said, though his voice lacked its usual strength. We do not flee. Then witness the end of your empire, Admiral. Let this be a lesson that travels to every corner of the galaxy. The main screen changed to show a view of home space. The Admiral's breath caught in his throat. Where the home system star should have been, there was only darkness. Our sun, whispered Science Officer Al. They extinguished our sun. Not extinguished, came Captain's voice. Contained. Your star is wrapped in a shell that blocks all light and heat. Your home world is now in eternal night. Communications Officer Aura was frantically working her controls. Admiral, I am receiving final transmissions from the home world before their communications went dark. The population is in panic. Temperature is dropping rapidly. They will all die, said Admiral. No one will die, Admiral. Human ships are already delivering heating units and emergency supplies to every settlement. Your people will survive, but they will remember who saved them. Captain N looked up from his weapons console. Sir, why are they keeping us alive? Why not just destroy us? The answer came not from the Admiral but from Captain, because someone needs to witness this. Someone needs to tell the story. On the main screen, new images appeared. Views from across the Empire as it fell apart in real time. The fortress world of Prime, protected by energy shields that could stop entire fleets, was being dismantled piece by piece. Human ships were somehow reaching through the shields and taking apart the defense platforms with surgical precision. The mining colonies in the Vega system, where millions of slaves worked to extract rare metals, were being liberated. But the humans were not just freeing the prisoners. They were erasing every trace of presence. Buildings vanished as if they had never existed. Machines simply stopped working and crumbled to dust. How are they doing this? Asked Al. Matter cannot just disappear. They are not destroying anything, explained Captain. They are editing reality, removing the parts that should not exist. Admiral stared at the images in growing horror. On the screen, an entire city was fading away like a bad dream, but the enslaved population remained unharmed. This is impossible, he said. No technology can alter reality itself. Your technology cannot, came the reply. But we stopped thinking like you a long time ago. While your empire conquered through force, we learned to work with the fundamental laws of the universe. The display changed to show the Helix Nebula, where the Empire's greatest shipyards had been building vessels for 500 years. The massive construction platforms that had taken generations to build were simply gone. In their place floated human vessels that looked like they had been grown rather than built. Admiral, said Aura, final transmission from Admiral Al at Helix Command. His entire fleet just stopped existing. One moment they were there, the next moment there was empty space. Where did they go? Asked Captain N. Nowhere, said Captain. They were edited out of this timeline. As far as reality is concerned, they were never built. Al was studying his instruments with desperate intensity. Admiral, the energy readings are beyond any scale I can measure. They are manipulating space, time, matter, and energy simultaneously. The Empire took 1,000 years to build, said Admiral quietly. How can it all be gone so quickly? Because we have been preparing for 57 years, replied Captain. Every ship placement, every defense system, every tactical doctrine, we studied all of it. We built our response to be perfect. New images flashed on the screen. The prison world of, where rebellious populations were sent for punishment, was being evacuated. Human ships were moving millions of prisoners to safety, while guards found themselves unable to move. The academy world of, where young learned the arts of conquest, was being converted into something else. The military training grounds were becoming farms. The weapons factories were turning into schools. You are changing everything, said the Admiral. We are fixing everything, corrected Captain. Admiral, your empire was built on pain. Every world you conquered, every species you enslaved, every culture you destroyed, we remember all of it. How? Most of those conquests happened centuries before humans even left their planet. Because the survivors told us, came the simple answer. Every refugee who escaped your empire, every slave who broke free, every witness who lived through your conquests, they all found their way to human space eventually, and they all told us their stories. Admiral felt something break inside his chest. You planned this from the beginning. From the moment we learned what your empire was, confirmed Captain, we made a promise to every species you had wronged. Justice would come. The tactical display updated one final time. Every red dot representing military presence had gone dark. Every fortress, every fleet, every weapon platform had been neutralized or erased. It is over, whispered Captain N. Yes, said Captain. 14 minutes and 37 seconds. That is how long the Empire lasted after it chose to attack Earth. Admiral looked around his bridge one last time. His crew sat frozen at their stations, paralyzed by technology they could not understand. Only he remained able to move and speak. Why me? He asked. Why leave me conscious? Because you need to remember this, Admiral. You need to carry this story back to whatever remains of your people. On the screen, images appeared of former worlds celebrating their freedom. Species that had been enslaved for generations were dancing in the streets. Children who had never seen the sun were emerging from underground factories. Every world is free, said Captain. Every slave is liberated. Every weapon of oppression has been destroyed. The age of the Empire is over. And what happens now? Asked the Admiral. Now you go home, Admiral, back to your dark world. You will tell your people what happened here. You will warn any others who might think about following your path. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as invisible forces took hold of it. We are moving you to a safe distance from Earth, explained Captain. From there, you can return to your home system. Your people will need leaders who understand that the galaxy has changed. Admiral felt the ship accelerating beyond anything its engines could produce. Through the viewing screen, Earth grew smaller until it was just another point of light. Will you hunt down every? He asked. No, Admiral. Your empire is gone, but your people can build something better, something peaceful. We will be watching to make sure they do. The ship stopped moving. They were somehow back at the edge of home space, though the journey should have taken weeks. Remember this day, Admiral, came Captain's final message. Remember that mercy is not weakness. Remember that justice always comes, even if it takes 57 years to arrive. The communication ended, leaving Admiral alone with his thoughts. Behind him, his crew began to wake up. Ahead of him lay a dark world and a broken empire. And somewhere in the galaxy, humanity watched and waited to see what would rise from the ashes. Admiral stood alone on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Around him, his crew was slowly waking up from whatever force had kept them unconscious. They moved like people emerging from deep dreams, confused and disoriented. Admiral Captain's voice was weak as he pulled himself upright at his console. "What happened? Where are we?" Through the main viewing screen, the dark bulk of the home world hung in space like a dead stone. No lights twinkled on its surface. No ships moved in its orbit. The once mighty capital of a galactic empire looked empty and cold. "We lost," said Admiral simply. "Everything is gone." Before anyone could respond, the ship's communication system activated. But this time, the voice that came through was different. Older, with the weight of authority that came from making decisions that affected entire civilizations. "Admiral, this is Director of Earth's Department of Relations. Please prepare to receive an official diplomatic transmission." The main screen shimmered and changed. Instead of the dark home world, it now showed the image of an elderly human woman. She wore a simple military uniform with no fancy decorations. Her gray hair was pulled back neatly, and her brown eyes held a mixture of kindness and absolute determination. "Admiral, I am sorry we must meet under these circumstances," she began, "but your empire left us no choice." Science Officer Al stumbled to his station, his hands shaking as he tried to work his controls. "Admiral, I am reading massive energy signatures all around the system. There are human ships everywhere." Director nodded as if she had heard him. "Yes, Officer Al, we have been here for quite some time, watching over your people as they adjust to their new situation." Admiral felt his heart skip a beat. "You know our names." "We know everything about your crew, Admiral. Commander Ara was born on the colony world of 7. Captain and lost his brother in the conquest of the Rigel system. Science Officer Al has 3 children he has not seen in 2 years. The bridge fell silent as each officer realized the humans had been studying them personally. "How long have you been watching us?" asked the Admiral quietly. "Since your first ship left space 57 years ago," replied Director. "We have monitored every conquest, every battle, every decision your empire has made." She gestured, and the screen split to show images from across the galaxy. Former worlds where the lights were coming back on. Space stations that had been converted from military bases to peaceful trading posts. Refugee camps where enslaved populations were being reunited with their families. "The people are free for the first time in 300 years, said Director. "The crystal miners of Epsilon Prime are seeing sunlight again. The scholars of Vega 9 are rebuilding their libraries." Admiral watched the images with growing amazement. "How many worlds?" 847 liberated worlds, Admiral. 12 billion sentient beings freed from slavery, and not a single unnecessary death in the process. Captain looked up from his console. "How is that possible? Our records show massive populations on those worlds." "Because we did not come as conquerors," explained Director. "We came as liberators. Your military forces were neutralized, but your civilians were protected." The screen changed to show the home world from orbit. Lights were beginning to appear on the dark surface as human ships distributed emergency heating and power systems. "Your people will survive, Admiral. The star containment field will be removed gradually as we install new energy systems. Within 1 year, your world will be warmer and more comfortable than it ever was under the old star." "Why?" asked Admiral. "Why show mercy to those who showed you none?" Director's expression softened slightly. "Because that is who we are, Admiral. Humanity learned long ago that strength without compassion is just brutality. We became powerful not to destroy, but to protect." She paused for a moment, looking directly at the Admiral through the screen. "Your empire made a fundamental mistake," she continued. "You assumed that because we appeared divided and primitive, we were weak. But our divisions were theater. Our primitive appearance was camouflage. We have been united in purpose since the day we detected your first probe." Science Officer Al raised his head from his station. "Director, your technology is beyond anything in our databases. How did humanity advance so quickly?" "We had help," she replied. "Every species your empire destroyed left survivors, refugees who carried their knowledge to other worlds, scientists who remembered their people's greatest discoveries, engineers who rebuilt their civilization's lost technologies." New images appeared on the screen. Massive research stations hidden in deep space where humans worked alongside aliens of dozens of different species. "They taught us about quantum mechanics," said Director. "They showed us how to manipulate gravity. The crystal miners of Epsilon Prime shared the secrets of matter manipulation. Every refugee became a teacher." "You built an alliance," realized Admiral. "We built a family," corrected Director. "Every species your empire wronged became part of something greater. Together, we created technology that no single world could have developed alone." The screen showed more images. Ships that seemed to grow rather than being built. Weapons that affected reality itself rather than simply destroying matter. Defense systems that operated outside normal space-time. "We spent 57 years preparing for this day," said Director. "Not just building weapons, but creating a new kind of civilization. One based on cooperation instead of conquest." Communications Officer Ara looked up from her station. "Director, what happens to us now? What happens to the people?" "That depends on you," replied Director. "Your military is gone forever. Your weapons of conquest have been destroyed, but your people remain and they have choices to make." The screen changed to show construction projects on various worlds. Factories being converted to produce useful goods instead of weapons. Military academies being turned into schools and hospitals. "We offer partnership," said Director. "Your people have skills and knowledge that the galaxy needs, but those skills must be used for creation, not destruction." Admiral felt something he had never experienced before. Hope mixed with shame, pride crushed by humility. "And if we refuse?" he asked. "Then you will be left alone," said Director simply. "Your people will have their worlds, their lives, their freedom to choose their own path, but any attempt to rebuild your empire will be stopped immediately." She leaned forward slightly, and her kind eyes became hard as steel. "Let me be very clear, Admiral. This message is not just for you. It is for every species in the galaxy that might think about following your empire's example. Earth remembers, Earth prepares, and Earth never forgives those who prey upon the innocent." The screen split again to show images from across known space. Human ships patrolling trade routes, defense stations protecting vulnerable worlds, refugee camps being converted into permanent colonies. "From this day forward, the galaxy is under Earth's protection," said Director. "Any species that chooses conquest over cooperation will face the same fate as your empire." Admiral nodded slowly. "I understand." "Do you, Admiral?" asked Director. "Do you truly understand what happened here?" The Admiral looked around his bridge, at his defeated crew, at the dark world outside his ship. He thought about the proud empire that had taken 1,000 years to build and 14 minutes to fall. "We thought we were apex predators," he said quietly, "but we were just prey that had not yet met its hunter." Director smiled sadly. "No, Admiral, you were a disease that had not yet met its cure. Your empire spread suffering across the galaxy like a plague. We were the medicine." The transmission began to fade. "Return to your people, Admiral," said Director. "Help them build something better. Teach them that the age of conquest is over. Show them that there is another way to live among the stars." The screen went dark, leaving Admiral alone with his thoughts. Outside the ship, human vessels began to withdraw into the darkness of space, but their message remained clear. The galaxy had new guardians now, and they would never stop watching.